4,500 years ago, the Great Pyramid of Giza was already finished. Its outer casing was still smooth and bright. And at that same moment, on a frozen island in the Arctic Ocean, a woolly mammoth was still alive. Not a fossil, not a memory. A living, breathing animal, exhaling steam into the cold thousands of years after almost everyone assumes its kind had vanished. That mammoth was one of the last of the giants. It belonged to a lost age when animals the size of a truck walked on nearly every continent on Earth. Ground sloths that stood 3.5 meters tall, cats with knives for teeth, a deer whose antlers were wider than a car. For most of the last 2.5 million years, this was the normal Earth, a planet ruled by giants. And then, almost everywhere, in the blink of geological time, they were gone. This is the story of the largest animals that ever walked the land, why the planet built them, and the unsolved mystery of what killed them. Scientists have a word for these animals: Megafauna, the big animals, usually meaning anything heavier than about 45 kilograms, the weight of a large dog or a grown human. And in the last ice age, they were everywhere. This was not a handful of oversized creatures in one corner of the world. Every inhabited continent had its own cast of giants. North America had mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and a short-faced bear that could look a person in the eye while standing on all fours. South America had ground sloths as heavy as elephants and armored beasts the size of a small car. Australia had a marsupial the weight of a rhinoceros. Eurasia had woolly rhinos, cave lions, and giant deer. Take the world you know: elephants in Africa, tigers in Asia, and imagine that richness spread across the entire planet, into the snow and the tundra and the plains. That was the Earth of 40,000 years ago, and then it collapsed. Across the world, around 2/3 of all large animal species disappeared. In North America, roughly 70% were lost. In South America, over 80. In Australia, nearly 90. Every land animal over a ton in the Americas and Australia was wiped out completely. We are living in the quiet that came after. So why giants in the first place? Part of the answer is the cold itself. There is a rule in biology, Bergmann's rule, that animals in cold climates tend to be bulkier than their relatives in warm ones. A larger body holds heat better. It has less surface area for its volume, so it loses warmth more slowly. In an ice age, being big is a way to survive the winter. But size needs food, and this is the part that is hard to picture standing in the Arctic today. The Ice Age North was not empty snow. It was a vast, dry grassland that scientists call the Mammoth Steppe, and it was the single most extensive land environment on the whole planet, running unbroken from the plains of Spain, across Europe and Asia, over the land bridge where the sea is now, and deep into North America. It was cold, but it was not barren. It was carpeted in nutritious grasses, herbs, and low willow food, on a continental scale, a frozen Serengeti. That endless pasture is what fed the herds, and the herds are what grew into giants. And what giants they were. The woolly mammoth stood up to 3.5 meters tall and weighed as much as 6 tons, wrapped in a coat of dark hair and a layer of fat, with tusks that curved out and back like great scythes. In South America walked Megatherium, the giant ground sloth, 4 tons of muscle, as heavy as a bull elephant, that could rear up on its hind legs to a full 3.5 meters and pull down whole branches with hooked claws. It was the largest animal ever to stand on 2 legs. Hunting some of these herds was Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat, built like a small tiger with a bear's shoulders and upper fangs up to 20 centimeters long, made for stabbing. We have found the bones of thousands of them, trapped and preserved in the tar pits of Los Angeles. There was a bear, Arctudus, that on its hind legs stood over 3 meters tall. There was a deer, the so-called Irish elk, though it wasn't Irish, and it wasn't an elk that carried the largest antlers of any animal that ever lived, 3.5 meters from tip to tip, wider than a car. And there was Glyptodon, a relative of the armadillo grown to the size of a small car, sealed inside a domed shell of bone. These were not monsters. They were simply what large mammals become when the world gives them room. For hundreds of thousands of years, this world worked, and the giants did not just live in it, they built it. Great herds of grazers trampled and cropped and fertilized the land, and in doing so they kept the grassland open, holding back the moss in the forest, maintaining the very pasture that fed them. The mammoths were, in a sense, the gardeners of their own world. It was a landscape of movement herds crossing frozen rivers under a low sun, predators shadowing the young and the old, the whole cold engine turning, season after season, on a scale we have no equivalent for today. If you could stand on that steppe 40,000 years ago, you would not think of it as a harsh place at the edge of survival. You would think of it as the richest cold grassland the world had ever produced. It had been there in one form or another for over 2 million years. It felt permanent. It was not. Somewhere in the last 50,000 years, the giants began to disappear, and once it started, it did not stop until almost all of them were gone. This was not a slow fade over millions of years, the way most extinctions unfold. It was fast, and it was strange. In the Americas, it was close to simultaneous. Around 13,000 years ago, in the span of perhaps a few centuries, the mammoths, the ground sloths, the saber-tooths, the giant bears, the armored glyptodon gone, almost together. Australia had lost its giants far earlier, tens of thousands of years before that. Continent by continent, the largest animals fell first and fell hardest, and unlike almost any extinction before it, this one struck the big and spared the small. Something was hunting the giants specifically. The question that has divided scientists for half a century is a simple one, and we still cannot answer it cleanly. What was it? If planet-sized mysteries told from deep time are what you're here for, subscribe. This channel lives in the world before us. There are two prime suspects. The first is the climate. The last ice age did not end gently. It lurched with a violent cold snap and then a rapid warming that redrew the map of the world. The mammoth steppe, that continental pasture, shrank, broke apart, and turned to bog and forest. A cold-adapted giant wrapped in fat and hair had nowhere left to go. The second suspect is us. Look at the timing on each continent, and a chilling pattern appears. The giants tend to vanish soon after modern humans arrive. In Australia, the extinctions follow human arrival by around 50,000 years ago. In the Americas, they cluster around 13,000 years ago, just as the first hunters spread south. The idea, first argued forcefully by the scientist Paul Martin and known as the overkill hypothesis, is that slow-breeding giants, which had never seen a human before, simply could not withstand a new predator that hunted in groups and never stopped. Recent genetic studies of collapsing populations across the world lean toward us as the deciding factor, but the climate never lets us off cleanly, because both things were happening at once. So which was it, the warming or the spear? The honest answer today is probably both, in proportions that changed from place to place. In some regions, the climate did most of the killing. In others, human hunting was the blow the giants could not survive. And there is one detail that haunts this whole story. Africa, the one continent where large animals and humans evolved side by side over millions of years, is also the one continent that kept most of its giants. The elephants, the rhinos, the hippos, still there today, may be survivors precisely because they had time to learn to fear us. Everywhere humans arrived suddenly, the giants did not get that time. And unlike the deserts that come and go on a cosmic clock, these animals are not coming back. The woolly mammoth held on, in shrinking pockets, longer than we tend to think. A last few hundred stranded on Wrangel Island, still alive when the pyramids were already old. And then, around 4,000 years ago, the last of them died, and the age of giants was finally completely over. We inherited the silence. When you look out over an open plain today and feel how empty it is, the missing herds, the missing thunder, that feeling is real. You are looking at a world that lost its giants and has never been the same since.